All right, time to start another series franchise review. This time, a patron requested the I Spit on Your Grave franchise, which has 5 films in total. You've got this, you've got the direct sequel to it, which just finally came out pretty recently, a movie I am dreading watching because it currently holds a 2.7 on IMDb and is 2.5 hours long. There is nothing in a rape revenge movie that would justify that runtime. So I already know I could easily cut an hour out of that film without even having seen it. But that all being said, there's also a remake and 2 sequels that follow that. I have seen all of those. I just haven't seen Deja Vu yet because it looks horrid. And I remember I saw the trailer because I had heard about this and I was like, all right, they're making a direct sequel. How cool. I'm down. I've really liked all the I Spit on Your Graves, and saw the trailer finally and was instantly like, nope, that looks horrid. That looks absolutely dreadful. Low production value, acting, all of it, which kind of sounds almost hypocritical or almost ironic because this is lower budget and the acting is whatever. But I guess it used to just work in the 70s and it just doesn't work anymore. I don't know why that is, but there you go. Maybe we're willing to look past more in older films that we're not willing to look past now. I don't know what it is, but cheap films now feel so much cheaper than cheap films back in the 70s. You get that feeling? I do. When I watch low budget, like ultra low budget films from the 70s and such, there's just a completely different feel to them than cheap movies today. They look awful. No redeeming qualities. No fun to be had. Anyways, let's talk about I Spit on Your Grave. Now, a real quick story before we get into the movie itself. I'm sure some guy in the comments below will be like, the review actually starts at. So thank you to him for time stamping it for me. But I met up with some people I had never met before through a girlfriend at the time. I was maybe 17, 18, and they were like, oh, we want to watch a horror movie. And my girlfriend was like, oh, Jason's a horror expert. He'll help you out. So we went to the video store together, and they were like, what should we watch? What should we watch? And I was walking around and I picked up I Spit on Your Grave because I had heard of it for years, but I could never find a copy. No store was ever carrying the thing because of how controversial it was. And I picked it up and I was like, oh man, this is that movie that's supposed to be banned and, controversial and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, oh, well, we got to watch it. Let's get it. And I was like, knowing what was in it, I was like, I don't know, man. And they're like, yeah, we're going to get it. And so we went back to their house. It was like 6 of us, and we started watching it. And spoilers for the film, obviously. But there's like the rape sequence and the abuse, the antagonizing of our protagonist here goes on for like 35, 40 straight minutes, and like literally 40 fucking minutes. It is an insane amount of time. And they were just sitting there, and I just kept getting like looks from people like, this is a movie you've always wanted to see. And I was like, dude, I told you. Like, I got so much shit for that. Those people never spoke to me again. I warned them. I don't know what to tell you. Anyways, all right. Actually kind of sounds similar to my Serbian film story I was telling on a different video with my roommates. But that ended up having a much different outcome. We actually bonded over that experience. These guys, not so much. All right, so I Spit on Your Grave is kind of the Jaws of rape revenge movies. It defines its subgenre. You can't talk about rape revenge films without I Spit on Your Grave. It's the granddaddy of them all. It's, I don't know if it's the first one ever, but it's definitely the most prominent one and the biggest one of its time, for sure. So it's not a fun watch, that's for sure. There's no real fun to be had in the first 50 minutes of this movie. It's the first 10 minutes or so is just kind of set up, and then once the abuse starts, once the rape and all of that starts, man, buckle up, because it is going to take you for a ride for a long period of time. And yeah, I mean, a movie like this nowadays, holy shit. Imagine the sensitive little assholes of today trying to watch a movie like this. It's just, oh, I couldn't even imagine. So it's a brutal flick, man. But the reason I've always liked rape revenge films is because of the cathartic nature of them. To see, because we know in life horrible things happen all the time. It's just a truth of life that you kind of just got to get used to. It sucks, but you can't prevent it all. No matter how, you know, how much you try, no matter what's done, you can't prevent all the atrocities that happen in the world. I wish we could, we couldn't. And shit like this happens. It's, it's awful, but it does happen. And there is such a catharsis in watching someone get vengeance, because unfortunately a lot of the times people don't get vengeance like this. A lot of people just hold it within. They silence themselves, or they go to the cops and the cops don't listen, or they do go to the cops and the cops do listen and they put the people in jail. But handling it yourself, I don't know if that actually works. In a lot of movies they always portray it as like, oh well, I wanted vengeance and I got it, but now I feel nothing. I thought it would make me feel better, and it just makes me feel worse. I don't know. I'm assuming that everyone would be different. I think there definitely would be people who would get vengeance and they would feel fantastic about it and be like, I feel much better. I don't know what the fuck that girl's talking about, but I feel awesome. And then of course there'd be other people who were maybe middle of the road, or kind of like, I kind of feel better, I kind of don't. I don't really know how I feel right now. And then there'd be people who are like, oh my God, now I feel like I'm the monster. So it's just to varying degrees. It just depends on the person and the kind of person that they are, obviously. But as an audience member, since we get to watch this voyeuristically, kind of from the outside looking in, it is very cathartic, because you want that vengeance. You want those repercussions to come to these horrible people. Because, as we say, like in life, we see a lot of terrible people that get away with everything. You watch great people around you get punished and die and have all these horrible things done to them, and then these dreadful people who do awful things all the time, and they seem to succeed all over the place, and you're like, is there a God? Is there karma? Is any of this shit real? Because, and so going to movies like this for me has always been, me being able to cope with things in one way or the other. I'm just like, oh, thank you. Thank you. I need to see this. I need to see somebody else, because I've definitely had a lot of people in my life who are, undeniably awful. Not even opinion-based awful, just dreadful people, and nothing ever seems bad to happen to them ever. They seem like they can't seem to have a bad day. And then I know people who are amazing people, to what I know of them anyways. They're freaking amazing people, and these people just cannot they just can't catch a break. They can't get a leg up in anything. And it's just devastating to watch, because you just watch them kind of play by the rules and are good-hearted people, and it just sucks. So that for me is very important to talk about. Now, I'm obviously not going to talk about this in every review of this film, but I just wanted to talk about the nature of rape revenge movies and why there is an appeal to them. Why? Because people will watch stuff like this and they'll find it sick. Plus, I need this intro to be really long, because I don't have a lot to say about the movie. My review on this movie would probably only be 5 minutes long, because I legitimately don't have a lot to say. I mean, it kind of is all out there. I almost all said it right now already. It's the nature of rape revenge movies, getting the catharsis, this and that. That's really my takeaway from this film, because when it comes to the film itself, I mean, you got a 40-minute rape sequence. I mean, what am I going to talk about in that? I mean, there's not really a lot to talk about except for it's all super mean spirited. It's all fucked up. There's no fault to be placed on the character here, where in a lot of movies we can be like, well, why didn't she do this, or why didn't, like, this is just a very unlucky girl here in Jennifer Hill's character, where she went out to write this book. She was trying to get to a secluded location by herself to clear her mind, to write her first novel, and then she's attacked by these dreadful human beings. If you even want to refer to them as human beings, I don't think so. They're below that, somewhere down the evolutionary chart for sure. But then they abuse the shit out of her, and it's hard to even talk about that, because when the movie had started, it was like 5-10 minutes in, and we get to see Jennifer naked, and it's like she's out there and she's swimming around, and it's really idyllic and beautiful, and it's like this idyllic summer day, and it's gorgeous, and she's gorgeous. She's got this amazing body and a beautiful woman, and I remember sitting there and I was saying, I'm like, man, I'm glad I get to see her beauty and I get to see her physical body like this before that stuff, because obviously during the rape sequences I'm not going to have any desire to see her naked. I'm not going to have any desire to see her in a sexual light in that moment, because that's obviously not the time to see somebody like that. And it's just like, because usually when I watch movies, if I see boobs, I'm like, oh, boobs, how exciting. But during rape sequences, there's no like triggering in my brain of like, oh, that's hot, her body or anything. It's like, yeah, everything around this is so awful, I can't even pay attention to how beautiful this girl's body actually is. Even though I know this is an actress, even though I know that this isn't actually happening, it's still, I'm in such a negative state of mind in that moment that I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care about this at all. I will give huge credit to the actress here for, I have to wonder if she was just nervous as all hell going to a low production value, low budgeted movie like this, and being like, hey, I'm going to take off all my clothes around all these men in the middle of freaking nowhere, and we're going to have a fake rape sequence. Like, these guys were probably not well known. They probably didn't have anyone around. Like, this girl had to go out there and trust that they were really making a movie. That they were just trying to lure her out there. Like, you want to make a movie? This is what you're going to have to do in it. And she's like, okay, I trust that you're not going to actually rape me, right? You're not going to actually rape me, right? I mean, she had to do that. And in addition to that, she had to get violated for a long extended period of time out in the grass, out in this tall grass and all these bushes. And she's like, after she's been abused, she's like walking barefoot, completely stark naked, not a stitch of clothing, nothing at all, walking through streams and the woods and through grass, and she's being thrown around and raped over a rock. Like this ain't no fake rock, man. I couldn't see a pad under her. Maybe it was there off screen, but even so, those guys were like really throwing her around, and she was screaming, and you have to wonder how much of that was like real screaming, like, shit, this hurts. And to put her body through that abuse, to be thrown around in the grass like that, and the tall bushes and everything that she's being thrown into, completely naked. And you think that this is some high production value thing where like they went out there and they made sure there wasn't any snakes in those bushes, or there wasn't any rodents, or there wasn't any sharp objects like broken bottles, or like that chick just threw herself around in there completely stark naked as these guys were, fake abusing her. But man, it's so realistic that it had to be pretty hard for them to be able to pull off some of the stuff they were doing. They really had to be gripping her pretty hard to be able to pull off what they were showing on film. So it's an incredible performance by her just from the physicality alone. I mean, how many actresses would put themselves through that? How many actors? Anybody would put themselves through that for a film like this? For any film, no matter what they were paying you, how many people would do this? So for her to even do that at all, and I think her performance is pretty solid throughout the film. Now, there's some believability issues with, I don't know. The main guy here, the guy in the coveralls, the mechanic's outfit, whatever the hell. I wrote their names now. They're such pieces of shit. I can't even keep them straight. I don't really care. But the main dude who has the wife and the kids, she just pulls up to the gas station, and he just doesn't bat an eye, doesn't blink, nothing. He's just kind of like, hey, I told you wouldn't like it around here, this and that. And then he just goes with her, no big deal. And then she pulls a gun on him, and he freaks out for a minute, and he talks her out of it. And I feel like in that moment, she's like, you know what? This is too easy for him. She never had a moment where she thought, I don't want to do this. Now, her giving the gun up to him, and he could have just turned it around and shot her when she knew that he wanted her dead, and he doesn't think much of her as a human being, or think of her as a human being at all. Ironic. So her handing him the gun was really dumb. That just doesn't make any sense. And the fact that he threw it away is very convenient to her, but you got to look past stuff like that. But as I said, I think that in that moment she was like, it's not enough. Like, you need to suffer. And what she does to this guy is just, it's so fucking brutal. Even though we don't really see anything but blood, it's just knowing what happened. Is she's sitting there and she's giving him this bath, and she's so calm in her demeanor, and she's trying to display this sense of like sexuality to him, which she's actually pulling off. She's a very beautiful woman. She's a very sexy woman. So when in those sequences, when she's just playing sexy to them, you buy into it. I get it. But the fact that this guy would just go back to her house and take a bath with her, like, no big deal. Like, this, I don't know. Does this just kind of put us in the frame of mind of people like this, that they don't even view her as human, and what they did isn't really that big of a deal? And when she shows back up, they're like, yeah, she might want to fuck me again. Maybe she really enjoyed it. Maybe she's sorry for what happened. Maybe, like, who knows what goes through psychopaths like this mind. But so I can't really say whether or not this is believable. It feels unbelievable for sure, and I would assume that these people would not react the way that they do. He seems to be the only one that reacts like that. That would actually be willing to just like jump into a bath with her on all this. Like, even the mentally challenged guy was extremely hesitant, wanted nothing to do. But hey, man, she at least let him come, right? She says he came. So he got to get off one time before he died, never having been able to achieve that before, with somebody at least. So, and I almost feel like that's symbolic in a way, because in the movie, essentially the reason that these guys do it, or so they say, is because they want to get their friend his first experience, and they berate him. And he kind of berates himself for not having finished, not being able to be a man and climax, or whatever the hell bullshit that they tell themselves. And so, because that was kind of the proponent for all of this happening, what set this into motion, the catalyst for it all, it's like she let it happen so then that it could be done. Like, at least for the reason of why this all started, this is now going to happen, and we're now we're done with it. At least it got done, which I don't know exactly how I feel about that, or if that's even what the message was there in that moment. But it does seem kind of ironic that she would allow to happen what was the original intention of the attack that never did occur. Like, essentially everybody else but that one guy who was like slapping her in the face and telling her to suck it, bitch. Jeez, that guy has some like double issues on top of these guys. Or maybe not. Maybe he's just as horrible. It just the way he was going about it. No, I guess they're all just as. I'm not taking anything away from how awful they are. There was like 10, 10 out of 10 horrible, but he felt like just the way he was abusing her that he was. I guess the reason I say that is because they're reacting to him. The two guys that just got done raping her, the guys that started this whole thing, the guys that were the first to go and were the main aggressors of it. Even they were like, dude, calm down. That's enough. Like, stop hitting her like that way. Which is kind of silly to me because it's like, do you realize what you did to this chick? But yeah, so in that moment, it's just like, damn, dude, you're even going too far for these guys who are the biggest piece of shits ever. Does that make you even worse? But yeah. And then she goes over to their boat and she drags them around. Now, why these guys couldn't just swim under the water when she was coming at them, and the fact that she would be able to come at them really fast with an axe raised above her and she'd be able to hit one of them straight in the back as she went by. It's all ridiculous, but it's fun, and yeah, it's hard to call anything in this movie fun. Cathartic, as I had said before. That's what it is. In that moment, it's just like, I don't give a shit how realistic it is. I just want to see this girl kill them. One thing that the remake did better, in my opinion, because you want these guys to suffer horribly after you see what they did to her. The girl in the next one, in the remake, their deaths are way more brutal. They are way more creative and medieval. This one, yes, what she does to the main ringleader guy, cuts off his dick and just locks him in that room and lets him bleed to death. That's great. I love that. But the other guy, the mentally challenged dude, there's no way that was possible. Zero chance she could have done that. But as I said, you kind of just got to look past that stuff. She's having sex with him, and then she just puts a rope around the guy's neck and sinks it up and grabs the rope and is able to pull it up before that guy can even react. He wouldn't feel the rope going over. He wouldn't feel it cinch. He wouldn't feel any of that. He wouldn't. And then for her to actually physically be able to lift him up like that off there as he fought back, ridiculous. There's no way in hell she could have done that. But to watch that guy hang like that, it's good to see, but albeit ridiculous at the same time. So there you go. And I haven't even looked at my notes one damn time. I also thought it was adding insult to injury, a little more psychological damage here for them to rape the shit out of her. And then there's even more mean-spirited by the fact that they constantly keep letting her go and then catching back up with her like it isn't over yet, and then meet her at her house. And then after everything, they say, like, one of the guy picks up her work and completely trashes her writing right there in front of her. Not only, taking away her innocence, not only taking away her dignity, but also trashing her credibility as a writer and what she holds so dear to her in that way too. It's just like, it's a complete breakdown of her character in every way imaginable. And it's just, it's so psychologically traumatizing to watch. Because you're just like, man, does this girl have anything left? And for her to be able to pull herself up, to heal up, and to just be so matter of fact. She even goes and like asks God for forgiveness, like before she goes and does it. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, if there is a God and they want to punish you for getting back at people like that, then there's something wrong with the man upstairs, because I don't think anyone should be looked down upon for getting vengeance for something like, you watch this. You watch somebody have that happen to them and then tell them that they're wrong for wanting to get back at those people for what they've done. You really think that those guys don't deserve it? You really think that those guys aren't going to do it again? You really think that another person should suffer because of our inactivity? Because of, no retribution? Jail is good enough for them. They can sit in there and watch their freaking cable TV and, get 3 square meals a day. I mean, they have it better than freaking homeless people. You really think that they should be afforded such courtesies and luxuries? Fuck no. People like that. Now, that's getting into vigilante justice, and of course that would be a long debate, and lots of opinions would flood in. But in the moment, when you watch stuff like this, you're like, there's just, what court could convict? And I remember, isn't that like a tagline? Oh wait, here it is. Yeah. I thought it was a tagline. I didn't read it, but this woman had just chopped, crippled, and mutilated 4 men beyond recognition. Well, that's a spoiler for the film, but you've kind of figured that. But no jury in America would ever convict her. I thought that was a tag. I agree. I'd be on that case and I'd be like, not guilty. Get home. You know? Sorry that happened to you. Is there any compensation that we can give you? It seems like you got some, but you're definitely going to need more. So let's get a GoFundMe page going, and we'll get you some psychiatric counseling, and let's help this girl out. This is treacherous. So yeah, I like that she flips the line on the guy, "Suck it, bitch," and all of that. I'm nervous though that I kind of just said everything that I'm going to have to say about this franchise for this review. I feel like this is just going to be the lion's share of my opinions because the next few films are pretty much the same movie. Girl gets raped horribly for a while, and then she gets vengeance and she kills him. So I'm gonna direct people in every one of those videos to watch this one and be like, you know what? You're gonna get most of my opinion of this franchise in this video. So this is the video to watch if you want my opinion on the franchise. Let me just scan my notes really quick before we get done here. The dummy on the rope, that the mentally handicapped kid, the dummy that they had on the rope that falls straight face down into the water, into the dirt right there, man, that can't be a person. There's just no way. There's no way. But it looks like a real human being. It's crazy. So that was a great dummy. It would be crazy to find out that was a real person. It looked like a real person, but man, that's one hell of a stunt. For them to be able to just sit there for a little bit after that would be so damn painful. Yeah, I wrote down stuff like Michael, that's the mentally handicapped guy. She just banks on Michael chasing after her when he arrives on the property with her groceries, and she just runs off, and she has to bank that he's going to just chase right after her in that moment. I don't know why they would leave it up to Michael to kill her, seeing as how he couldn't even bring himself to have sex with a girl. He was like, oh my God, she's the hottest thing ever. But he does say not like this, and I do understand that. And they play a little more into that in the remake, where they almost make him a victim as well. And she is conflicted on her feelings towards whether or not he deserves it because he is mentally challenged. So I kind of like that they play on that a little more in the remake, because it is a little tragic, but at a point in this movie, there is a point where he crosses the line where it's like, no, this is him taking over and making a rational decision and going forth with these heinous acts. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the dude is in the remake. That's my memory of it anyways. I'll watch it, and there won't even be a mentally handicapped guy in it. No, I swear. I haven't seen it since it came out, but I swear there's another one, and she's kind of like conflicted on whether or not he's responsible or not. And yeah, why would they give Matthew the job of doing that? It's crazy to me. Does Stanley shove a bottle up her vagina? Stanley's the asshole who's like punching her and whatever. Does he take that bottle and shove it up her pussy? Like, is that what he does in that moment? Jesus Christ, man. Would this chick even be able to have sex anymore after what they do to her? God damn, man. Although I would assume she might never want to have sex again, and I wouldn't blame her after that. I mean, the PTSD from sex you would have from then on. I like that they kind of addressed that in MFA, another really good rape revenge movie. They kind of addressed that, like how sex is now kind of ruined for her. And I've seen that in a lot of rape revenge movies. American Mary, stuff like that. So they do get into the psychological aspect of that. And they probably do in the sequels. I've seen all the other ones, but I vaguely remember them. They all kind of blend together because, as I said, their premises and their finales are all very similar. And I think that's about it. I mean, how much more can I say about it? The one-shot boat abduction that they do in the movie, where they come up and they tie her off and she's hitting at them and then they yank her away. But yet another really physical moment, and those are definitely the actors. No stunt work in that. That was, you know, that was bold shit, man. The people that they got to work on this. This is the 70s for you. People now, these actors now, they think way too much of their life and themselves. So they'd be like, I ain't doing that shit. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing Jenny in Deja Vu, just as 40 years later or something, to see what role she plays, to see how she plays it, to see how she factors in. I think it's her granddaughter, or maybe it's just some person who finds out about her story or something. I do look forward to seeing how she plays in, if she's in it much, if they reference the first one much, if... God, 2.5 hours though. Oh, damn, man. I will probably take that in increments, in stages. It'll probably be like an hour here, 30 minutes here, you know, stuff like that. So we'll see. Who knows? My buddy Keen Gross loved it. He's the only person I've heard say one good word about it. I don't know. He's that kind of person though, that he loves to be different. Like, I swear his opinions on movies would be different if he could never get kind of a general consensus on stuff. I swear. Now, people claim that of me. I just got it yesterday on my Halloween video, or this morning, because I recorded it last night, but I uploaded it today, where they were like, you know, oh, you're just trying to be different. Stop trying to be so different. I'm never trying to be different. I can assure you of that. My opinion would be exactly the same if I never talked to another single fucking person again. If I walked into a movie, my opinion will be the exact same, because I don't hold anything in such high regard, and I don't have any qualms with calling out whether a movie is good or not, because I'm not a traditionalist. So I don't give a shit. So if I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu, I like it, and it's got a 2.7 and everyone hates it, I will be the first person to be like, I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about. I enjoyed it, but I sincerely doubt that's going to be a 2.7, man. Anything under 3 on IMDb is almost always shit. In fact, always. I don't think I've ever seen anything under 3. In fact, I usually won't even watch it. So we'll get there. So look forward to that. And yeah, so thank you. And I'll see you in the next video. Adios.